morning, buenos dias. Hoy es martes. And we're getting to the end of August. Yesterday we learned in Swahili, Jambo. That's how you say good morning. Now, the language most spoken in the world. What language is most spoken in the world? This morning, taking into account time changes and time zones, what do the most people say good morning in what? Mandarin, ni hao. Ni hao. What a cultural experience this study of 1 Samuel is. We're learning. Isn't it good to be in the body of Christ and realize there's Christians who say ni hao and others say jambo, and they're every color, every background, and we're all going to be together in heaven, every nation, every tribe. Oh, you don't like certain nations and tribes and colors? I didn't know that. Well, maybe God won't send you to heaven then. Why be uncomfortable for eternity? You know, just saying. You don't like to be around certain people, they're like different? Oh, what a horrible sin that is. Prejudice. Oh, yeah, but I'm so different. How about, as you've heard me say, how different is God than you, and yet he still loved us, gave us his son, reached out to save us when we're nothing but putrefying sores, and our righteousness is like filthy rags, and yet he loved us, and he's the holy, perfect God. But you and I have trouble with, who was it again? They're like below you? Oh, come on. Wake up before it's too late. By this shall all men know we really belong to Jesus, because of the way we love one another. Love is the acid test. Not doctrinal correctness. Doctrine's important. Not gifts of the Spirit and ecstatic experiences with the Lord. Love. So now we learn in chapter 22 of 1 Samuel, verse 3, from there, where's there? The cave of Adullam. From there, David went to Mizpah in Moab. He's now left Israel. He's with the Philistines before, now he's with the Moabites. And he said to the king of Moab, would you let my father and mother come and stay with you until I learn what God will do for me? So he left them with the king of Moab, and they stayed with him as long as David was in the stronghold. What a beautiful picture of David, a man after God's own heart. What do we learn from this? He's on the run. His life is hanging by a thread, but he's concerned about his parents. Honor your mother and father. So instead of just thinking for himself, he's thinking, wait a minute, who knows what's going to happen to me? I'm here with my little 400-man army made up of people in distress and debtors and all of that, like the motley crew that followed Jesus. And the Pharisees said, how could this guy be legit? Look at the people he hangs out with. He got a friend named Simon the leper. What respectable prophet walks around with Simon the leper? The world thinks so different than God, right? So David goes to the king of Moab so that he can get protection for his mom and dad. He's going to be running, he doesn't know where. And he's got some men, but they're nothing. They're dropping the bucket compared to the army of Israel. But notice what he said. It's always been a blessing to me. Would you let my mother and father come and stay with you until I learn what God will do for me? Now, David is David. Jesus calls son of David. David's one of the biggest names, greatest men of God in the Old Testament. Killed Goliath, the exemplary king of Israel. Not perfect, but Jesus, son of David. And yet David didn't know how God would work out everything for him. You ever have times like that in your life? You're trusting God. David's trusting God. But God hasn't shown him the end game yet. How will this work out? He does not know. So he says to the king of Moab, would you watch, Mom and Dad? Until I see what God will do for me. Not my plans. Here's my 5-year plan. And, you know, all the ways we try to control the future. Our life is a vapor, but we're controlling our so-called future. We don't know if we'll wake up tomorrow. So David says to them, I have to wait to see what the Lord will do. The Lord's going to do something for me, but when and how, that I don't know. The Apostle Paul echoes the same sentiments in the New Testament. I'm going to Jerusalem, not knowing what will befall me exactly, except it ain't going to be pretty. That I know. Chains are awaiting me. But who, where, when, how long, I don't know. Faith is really tested when you don't know the end game, but you're willing to walk with the Lord. Abraham left where he grew up at the command of God, not knowing where he was going. Hebrews 11 brings that out. That's one of the tests of faith. You can't be a control freak and walk by faith because God just never told him where he was going. To a land I will show you. I know, where's that land? I got my new GPS. I got a new Honda Accord here, and this GPS works great. Now, where are we going again? I'll show you later. No, I need to know now. No, trust me. David's an example now. He's saying to us, trust God even though you don't know how it all work out. King of Moab, watch my parents until I learn what God will do for me. God's going to do something for me. Oh, yes. But I don't know yet. So don't sweat it. We can relax and trust God, can't we? Come on, let's trust him today. Be blessed. See you tomorrow.